John, when you got to Las Vegas, you were able to assemble a pretty impressive team before you start talking about who is going to be on the field. Patch is a Bart List winner. Stiegel has won too. Hunt is came from a very accomplished franchise, obviously. How were you able to lure that kind of talent to Las Vegas? Did you kind of coming up, were you kind of like, hey, listen, if I ever get a GM job, you're my guy, or was it a little bit more organic than that? Kind of how'd that come together?
Well, I go back to the networking thing. I mean, I've always enjoyed being around really good people in my career, and I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of really good people too. And sure, I've worked with Stiegel, and he came with us to Cleveland too. I we talked about it some, but I mean, we you're never 100% sure you're gonna get one of these jobs, and I never wanted to make promises I couldn't keep either. And I've just tried to stay connected to those guys. When we've gone our separate ways, I mean, I worked with Patch all the way up to 2009 in Philly, and then we haven't worked together, but we always stayed in touch. Our families are close. We see him every year at the NFS meetings down in Marco Island. And, it was kind of one of those things, Neil, too, where I respect the person, the humility they operate in, their work ethic. They're fantastic evaluators. And when you get one of these jobs, you kind of say, well, I'm not going to have any, I'm going to try to get the guys that I really want. And you might not get them all, or they might say no, but I was fortunate that number one, the teams they were working for, they would even allow the idea to breathe. And two, that those guys wanted to come. So, again, I talked again, I was just going to try to surround myself with as many good people as I could. And I just kept up relationships through many, many years. Brian Stark's here from our time. We were very close in Denver. And Mark Thews is here too. Um, we just stayed in touch, and we all shared some common journeys and experiences when we were younger. And I'm just very fortunate that they all took the leap to come here, because they all left really good organizations too.
That's
You
the
know,
thing.
I
Yeah.
One of my fears, guys, was like I was going to cost somebody a Super Bowl this year. From the 3-14 team, and they could have been in a Super Bowl. I wasn't cheering against their old teams, but I felt a little better when the Broncos lost in the AFC Championship game, so I didn't cost Starkey and Thews their second Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, again, as you assemble that front office team, you let Coach Kubiak win his Super Bowl before you brought him over. Talk about what separated him to become the guy that's going to lead this franchise on the field moving forward.
We had a lot of really good interviews with a lot of candidates, and many of them got jobs. And some of them took jobs, before we were ready to make decisions, and that's just the way it goes. But we promised ourselves when we got started with the entire process, with ownership involved, and the group of us that traveled to all the interviews too, that we were gonna do this the right way, and we weren't gonna rush anything, and we weren't gonna be sped up by outside voices or media or anything like that. We were gonna take the time necessary to find the right man at the right time for the opportunity that we have here. And after the first Zoom interview with Clint, I was actually in Atlanta and did it from a hotel room in Atlanta, because we were going to Starkey and I were going to the Oregon Indiana game to see the two quarterbacks play. And right away we were like, well, this is a guy that, we need to make time for whenever that happens again. And then they just didn't lose. And so, we eventually got a chance to sit with them the day before he flew to San Francisco, San Jose for the Super Bowl. And, just again, I talk a lot about humility. I'm a big believer in it, and, not an ego driven leader, a humble person, but very bright, very hardworking, comes from a great family. I mean, I was with his dad when we won a Super Bowl, so I know what they're about. I've known Gary for a long time now. I worked with Klein Kubiak in Denver for those years too, so I feel like I know the family some. Um, but more importantly, just the vision he had for the quarterback, for the offense, the staff, um, how he was going to lead, how he was going to hold people accountable, how he was going to be disciplined, and then um, the work ethic and his commitment to it was just exemplary. And he happens to be a fantastic play caller too. When they had Derek Carr when I was in Tampa and he was the OC, I think it was 24. I mean, they were cooking. They were out the gate scoring 45 points a game, and then Derek got hurt, and it got harder for him. But I've always respected the play calling. And then, you get a chance to hire somebody who's coming off of a Super Bowl, and got a chance with a young coach to watch a program get put into place in the second year, and to claim the ultimate prize. It was just something we couldn't ignore, and I'm thrilled that he's here with us.